Manchester United basically are at the other side of that sliding doors moment to us, right? They finished 16th, no European football next season, blah, blah, blah. All this talk about Manchester United and financial issues, and they really needed the Champions League money. But then straight away they go out and get Cunha. Splash that on the release clause.
There's talks of the lap now.
You know what I mean? Like, already we're on the better side, they're on the worse side, and they've made a significant step to improving their squad already, which has pissed me off a little bit. And I see it, you know, it was similar as well to when Spurs got Champions League and Arsenal finished outside the Champions League after we beat them 3-0. They went on to kick on and we didn't. So we need to act fast, we need to act strong, and we need to act with purpose in the market right now.
Well, I think that leads on to the talk about Postecoglou, because I think that's a big problem right now when it comes to doing what you're saying, because all this uncertainty and indecision from the club, which is, you know, a lot of reports about at the moment, it's a big problem because we can't convince anyone to come here while we're uncertain who's going to be manager. And they need to make a decision quickly because we're already falling behind, as you say. People are making quick decisions in the market.
Big moves.
Big moves. You got Liverpool. I know they're not our competition, but you got teams who obviously we're looking to challenge the big teams. Obviously, we want to be back challenging against, right? Liverpool are already making moves with Wirtz, and Arsenal are getting Zubimendi and making moves. As you say, United are making moves with Cunha, Delap. I just saw a report on TalkSport saying they're in talks about Mbeumo as well. You know, Newcastle are in talks with certain players. Everyone is making big moves, and we are kind of stuck in this limbo right now while we're making a decision on Ange Postecoglou, whether we want him to be here or not. And this indecision is setting us back because we're not. Because it's even worse if we let him go in a way, because if we let him go, then we have to search for a manager. We have to bring the manager in. We have to get we have to line up how he wants to play. Then we have to go and find the right profile. He has to restructure the squad, and we're going to fall. Can we get all that done before preseason? All these clubs are making signings before preseason. I heard Arne Slot yesterday says, I want my signings done as early as possible before pre-season. Arsenal, they're making moves already. I know they haven't signed anyone, but there's a lot of talk. I'm sure because they know they're sticking with Arteta next season, they know the kind of targets they want already, and they know who they're lining up, and they're going to go for them very quickly. I'm sure of it. We're going to hear stuff soon about them. I'm certain of that. And the longer we wait with the manager decision, the further we're going to fall behind. And at least if we stick with Ange, just on a basis of kicking on for next season in the transfer market, I'm sure he's got an idea of what kind of player he wants and all that kind of stuff, and what he really wants us to improve for next season. Because of all the problems we've had, he knows the problems and he can kind of has an idea how to go about it. But we bring a new guy in, and it's kind of it's going to take a while for us to figure all that out, I think. So if we're going to do that, we're going to need to do it very, very quickly.
The decisions of Ange's future should have already been made already. They shouldn't be having to think about it over a week's time now. Like whether we're going to let him go or whether he's going to stay, the decision should have been made by now. And what the journalists are saying is Dan Kilpatrick says that Levy is thought to be undecided on Postecoglou's future after a season of extremes. And Tom Parkley says Postecoglou's future is unlikely to be clarified before the Australian heads off on holiday, which is today, with Daniel Levy taking time to mull over whether to stick or twist. The expectation was that Postecoglou would be sacked at the end of the season, but now that the Australian has won the Europa League, a U-turn can't be ruled out, and Paratici will likely have a say on who replaces Postecoglou if he was sacked. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, you've known we've been in the Europa League final. We had a good chance of getting into the Europa League final for a while now. After we beat Frankfurt, you know, they should be deciding, well, if he wins the Europa League, we're going to do this. If he loses the Europa League, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. Like, they should know both kind of eventualities, and they should know what decision they're going to come to if we win or lose the Europa League final. And I'm sorry, but it just stinks of, you know, lack of planning once again and lack of foresight.
And you know what? I was having Andy came on the fan show yesterday, and
I saw that.
And it was a good call, and he made a good point because
what, that I owe him dinner.
Huh? First of all, yes, you owe him dinner. That's a very good point, and we'll have to discuss that. But he was saying, Ange said that Ange said after the Bilbao game, maybe he's not telling the truth, but he said that he made a decision in February that he's going to go for this Europa League. And he said not everyone in the club agreed with him, right? But he said he's going to go for this Europa League. Now, there are two kind of ways you can look at that. In terms of how Levy feels about that bit, right? Because if Levy didn't agree with that, would he have kept Ange on? Because knowing Levy, would he have not just sacked him, given how he's dealt with previous managers, if he didn't agree with Ange doing that? Now, if he did agree with Ange doing that, right, and Ange then delivered it, why was he now undecided about sacking him or not? So kind of I don't like where was Levy's heads at when Ange made that decision? Did he agree with it or not? Because either way, like him being here would imply that he agreed with Ange doing it, or he didn't agree and just let him carry on, which doesn't seem like something Levy would do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't seem like something Levy would do just because of the revenues that you're potentially losing, but massive upsides if you do go on and actually go and win the competition. So, I mean, there's a lot of upsides to it, but it's risky. It's very risky.
No, I'm saying it doesn't seem like Levy would not agree with Ange doing it, but keep him on, I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Levy could have also just looked at what are the alternatives now, who can come in a February or a March from now to the end of the season and actually shoot us up that table. There's also that kind of thinking towards it.
So I understand that, but I also like, this is a guy who sacked Mourinho a week before the final because he didn't agree with Mourinho resting players in that game.
There was a difference.
And he put Mason in charge.
There was a difference then because, first of all, the Carabao Cup final doesn't bring you anywhere near the amount of revenues as what a Europa League final would do.
That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is...
Yeah, but it's still relevant.
No. It's not. The point I'm making is Levy agreeing with the decision. It's not.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, but this kind of what I'm saying comes into the thinking of making the decision, and the decision then under Mourinho and the decision now is completely different.
No, but my point is, did Levy agree with what Ange wanted to do? That's what I'm saying. And if he didn't, would he have kept him on if he did not agree that Ange should just go for this Europa League? And if we're suggesting that he would have sacked him if he didn't agree, right? Are we then saying he probably did it? Maybe he did agree with Ange, or he at least saw his point. And if he did agree with Ange that just go for the Europa League, and then he delivers on that Europa League, why is he now why would he sack him after that if he agreed with the approach and said, all right, you know what, just go for Europa League and go all out and win it, and then he actually delivers it and wins it. Maybe. And now he's saying, well, you delivered it, we agreed on the approach, you delivered it, but now we still might sack you.
Yeah, but there's also maybe a thinking from Daniel Levy saying, look, we'll go with your approach from now to the end of the season, but at the end of the season I'm going to sack you regardless.
Maybe he said that. It could have been that, but I mean, maybe. Yeah, I guess that's a possibility as well.
Because we have been hearing from various journalists, even reliable ones like David Ornstein, saying regardless if we win the Europa League or not, Postecoglou's going to leave at the end of the season. He's going to get sacked.
Well, Ornstein's said I don't think he said he will be sacked. He did say his future's very much unclear. I think there was one journalist, I think it was Tom Barkley, who said he said before the final, regardless of whether they win it or not, he's going to be sacked. Or he's looking for a summer change, I think he said. A lot of
every summer's a bloody summer of change.
I know. Most of the journalists, I think, have been saying beforehand, like regardless of whether we win it or not, his future is very much uncertain and is not guaranteed even if he wins it. So that's what a lot of the journalists have been saying. But for me, I think what we have right now with him and what he's brought us, it's not just about him achieving something, which he has. It's just about this feeling of the squad and the club and the fans all being together for the first time in a long, long time.
Probably
bring
since
that
the first
together.
10 games of last season.
Yeah, exactly. He's brought He's brought us together after, when he came in, the club was also very fractured. I know it's been very fractured this season as well, but we have finally got that togetherness back again. We've finally achieved that winning feeling. I think you can't excuse the league form, but you can explain the league form, and you can maybe rationalise why there is reason to believe that there were big problems that were very insurmountable this season, and he did kind of have to choose, especially come February, March. I can understand the thinking of we had to choose between the Premier League and the Europa League in terms of what we're really going for, because I think we clearly showed this season our second team isn't good enough to just win games quite consistently. So we can't afford to just put our second team out in a Europa League game and expect to get through, because it was never going to, because we've shown it's not good enough. The players are too young, they're too inexperienced. They don't have what it takes right now to just win games. So he needed to prioritize that Europa League if and put all his eggs in that basket if we were actually going to go and win that competition. And how many times this season, in previous years, have managers been guilty of doing the opposite when it comes to league competitions and Europa League and all that kind of stuff? How many times have we been guilty of resting players in the cup competitions because we're in races for European places in the league, and us falling by the wayside and falling out of competitions, even against teams we definitely should be beating? Everyone says, "Oh, look who we played; it's so easy." I hear people say that, but like, how many times have we fallen by the wayside against teams that we're massive favourites for in cup competitions, embarrassed ourselves because we've rested players and think our second team's good enough to get through, and it never is. Losing to Norwich in the FA Cup under Mourinho, losing to Zagreb, losing to Ghent under Pochettino. It's happened so many times. So clearly at this football club, we have to kind of prioritize. If we want to go all out in a competition, we probably had to do something like we did this season. Obviously, doesn't necessarily mean we have to finish 17th. I'm just saying, once we got to that point in February, March, where the league form has been decimated with injuries. We've been 12 players for 3 months, and the league form has completely fallen off a cliff, right? And then we're getting all our players kind of back around early February time. At that point, do we kind of decide, okay, we want to improve our league form and try and finish as high as up the table, probably still missing out on the league places, but try and do our best to improve that league form, and that means maybe resting players in Europa League? Or do we just go all out for the Europa League and be down with that league form and just try and win that trophy? And look, he went that. It was a risky move, but it paid off, and I think it was the right probably move to do. And I think a lot of fans in previous years have been complaining about managers doing the opposite and complaining about resting players in these cup competitions, not prioritising them, and he's done that. So I think there are rational reasons why the league form is what it is this season. Obviously 17th can't be acceptable going forward and is not acceptable this season, but at the end of the day, the target at the beginning of the season was Champions League football and a trophy. That was the target, and he's achieved that target. And yes, he's achieved it by finishing 17th and winning the Europa League, but he's still done that. And so for me, I think he's got the players, he's got the fans, right? I think he's shown he can adapt in this Europa League as well, by showing a different side of our game. I think we showed at points this season that we can play amazing football, and I think Ange can work, but we just need a deeper squad so we can play a bit more consistently and play it in more competition. But he also showed that if we need to, we can adapt in certain situations. And also, when I'm looking at the market, I'm like, are we going to really are we going to sack him and give Iraola or Silva or Frank a 2-3 year deal?
Silva's already confirmed he's staying at Fulham.
So maybe not even Silva. Who are we going to get?
Frank's already confirmed he's staying at Brentford, apparently.
Did he? Who are we going to get to replace him? I understand if there's an outstanding candidate on the market who we feel like we can't miss out on, right? But I don't see that right now. I'm not looking at the market and thinking we need to get that manager in. We'll be really. I don't want to miss out on that manager who's on the market.
What about if Inzaghi's available?
If Inzaghi, he would be one, but is he on the market? Is he one realistically going to come to Tottenham? Look, if he's on the market, fine. I'm saying if there's an outstanding candidate. I was saying to Marlon yesterday, if Klopp says, I'll join Tottenham, okay, there's an outstanding candidate. If there's a real outstanding candidate, then okay, I'm open to it. But right now,
Pochettino says, you know what, if Spurs need me, I'll come, and I've been off the US World Cup. I know it's unlikely, but what would your kind of feeling be towards that?
If Pochettino wanted to come right now, I'd be open to it. I'm not sitting here saying definitely yes, but because look, at the end of the day, Ange won more than him. But I'd be open to it if the if the players are on board with it. And look, we know he's loved by he's one manager we know is still loved by the fan base, and so we'll still have that connection there. Obviously, you'd have to get the players on side. I'm sure he can do that. He's done that with a younger squad, and that's what we have. I think we probably have a squad in terms of youthfulness that could play poch football. So maybe he's one. But again, he's not available right now. Realistically, he's managing the World Cup, so I don't even consider him an option. Like for me, we've just got a manager who's broken that duck. He's won that trophy. He's lifted the mood in this football club. To rip that all away now just for the sake of uncertainty, because we're all upset about the league form, for me would be the wrong way to go. I think look, at the end of the day, people say, "Oh, we're 17th," but we did finish 5th in the first season. Right, people just gloss over that and forget about it because the league season's been so bad this season. But in the first season, we did finish 5th. He can manage at this level. He can manage in the league at this level. Yeah, I don't believe this narrative that his football can't work in the Premier League. It doesn't work here. Like, he finished 5th. Okay, you can gloss over that all you want. You can say it was just the first 10 games, but we did finish in that position. It wasn't. We weren't 5th after 10 games. We finished in 5th. Right, we finished in that position. So we can get a good league campaign going when things are going right. And I think if we make smart decisions in the transfer market, we make sure we learn the lessons from all the injuries that we had this season to make sure that doesn't happen again. We've got the fact that he's got those players really believing in him as well, right? I think he can be the man to go forward. And look, if it goes pear-shaped next season, that can happen. Who's to say Iraola and Frank or any of these managers come in and it goes right straight away anyway? You know what I mean? So you might as well give him next season, in my opinion, and let him see out his contract. Not saying give him a new deal, but let's see how next season goes with him, because I think that's the best course of action right now in terms of all the options I'm seeing. I'm not seeing an option saying, yeah, we should go in that direction. I think he's probably right now the best course of action.
And I do feel like for next season as well, if you do give him next season and it doesn't go well, you do have a manager that loves the club ready and waiting for us at the end of next season. I believe that would probably be the kind of course of action if it was to go that way. But look, everyone knows what I've been saying about Ange all season. But now it's all said and done. Yes, the league form is unacceptable. You can't turn any other way apart from that. Completely unacceptable. But after him giving us what he's given us this season, the feelings that he's given us, the togetherness, the sense of togetherness it is now, the good feeling amongst the club, lifting a European trophy, a significant honour, a trophy parade, something that we've all been dreaming for so long. You cannot sack him now, in my opinion. You just cannot. And I feel like as well, the signs of adaptability that he showed in this Europa League run to get us to the promised line and to get us over the finish line, in the Frankfurt games, in the Bodo games, in the final against Manchester United as well. That shows to me, because a big gripe for me was like, he keeps going this one way and we're too open, we're too attacking, and I've seen signs of adaptability from him, and I've seen signs that if he can take from what he's shown in this Europa League run into the Premier League campaign next year, we can have a much better Premier League campaign. So I'm willing to give him the chance next season for sure. Not to say that I'm totally confident that it's going to go unbelievably well, but I think we need to go forward with him. I think you cannot dismiss what he's given us. Like, this trophy is something that we've all been dreaming for, and I just don't understand people that are so adamant that just get him out right now. I mean, I can understand it to a certain extent, I guess, because of the league form, but
I guess because also leading up to the final, the narrative was, regardless of the win, people he's going to leave, or people want him out, and maybe that's just seeped in too strongly for too many fans that they've can't overlook that, I guess.
But I think it should be overlooked because of what I'm saying, because of the trophy, because of the signs of adaptability, because it clearly, the club, the players are clearly behind him. The fans are clearly behind him right now. So let's just all move forward together. And if it goes wrong next season, it goes wrong, and we'll have to make a change then. But right here, right now, less than a week after a significant moment for the club, something that no other manager since Keith Birkinshaw, who walked out on the pitch yesterday pretty much in his Zimmer frame, has delivered this football club. We have to all move forward together. That's my honest opinion. And look, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. What can we do about it?
Yeah, but there's no guarantee it goes right with a different manager.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
And a different manager comes in, they're going to want to play their kind of style or whatever. They're going to have to figure out all the problems that every manager. How many times have a manager, right? Mourinho, Conte, and Ange come in beginning of the before they come in, right? They're all like excited for the job. And how many times have we heard this? From each manager that's come in, they say, "I've only just realised the problems as of when I come in."
Yeah.
How many times Mourinho said it? I remember he said it. Conte said it. I've only just realised how bad the problems are when I'm in the job, right? So that manager who comes in is going to have to realise that once they come in. Then I'm sure like Iraola will be so super excited to come to Tottenham, right? But then he's going to probably be saying, I only just realised the problems once I come into the club. But Ange knows it. He's been here for 2 years. He hasn't slagged off the club. He hasn't been like Conte or Mourinho, who's saying, you're lucky to have me. And like at every stage, he's been just bashing the club for not having a winner's mentality, all this kind of thing, which is fair, which is obviously a lot of fans praise those managers for doing that. I'm just saying Ange hasn't done that. He's the one who really knows what this club's all about, and he understands this club, and he's one that he's not going to rally against the board or anything like that. And he understood what it took to get this club a trophy. He understood what needed to be done. I kind of felt like those managers only wanted to do it their way, and they weren't. They're like and Ange was willing to kind of do what needed to be done to get that trophy over the line in terms of just prioritizing that competition and be damned with what the league form would look like. And
well, look, Mourinho was willing to do that as well.
Mourinho was willing to do that. He got sacked for it. Yeah,
the club just weren't willing to let him do it. That's the reality. But look, in terms of Ange, the reality is that over the course of this season, there has been points of the season where we probably should have sacked him, and he could have been sacked easily for what he's shown and the managerial kind of ability that he's shown. However, now we're sitting here, the trophy's over the line. He's given us feelings that we could only have dreamed of at the beginning of the season for the past 41 years. We have to move forward with him, in my opinion, and we have to act fast, and we have to make a decision, and we need to start planning. If we haven't started planning for the summer, like, what the hell are we doing here?
But I also feel like the way this season has gone, the fact that we've been this bad in the league, right, and the fact we've had so much pain and defeats, and we've still come away regardless of that, we've still come away with a trophy and with glory. We've been able to move that situation. That's only going to make the resilience so much stronger with this squad. Because I really believe people say it's going to normalise defeats. I disagree. It's going to make this squad so resilient, and it's going to mean for me that next season it's not going to let them affect them. I think it's going to make them stronger. It's going to make them so much steelier, in my opinion.
Well,
going into next season.
It can go one of two ways, you know. Like the two last managers that have won us trophies, albeit Carabao Cup trophies, have gone on to be sacked the season after. So, I mean, it could easily go that way with Ange next season. Don't get me wrong, but there's also a way it can go in the scenario that you're saying. And I think it's worth to roll the dice that we're here after European trophy and seeing where it can take us next year.
Yeah, I think so. And I think this is different to a Carabao Cup.
He deserves it. Like, as much as I've been saying all season he should be sacked, and yes, and I think those opinions were valid to say at the time. But now he's delivered that success to this football club. He's deserved to be given the benefit of the doubt and to move forward into next season and see where it can take us.
Yeah, and I think, he's done what he's needed, what he said he was going to do. He won that trophy. He has changed the club, and he's done that. He said he does that every club he goes. To be honest, most clubs he does stay around this length anyway. But he seems determined at this time to stay here, rather at Celtic and other clubs. He's kind of made it his decision to leave, obviously, because he felt like he could do all he could do. But he clearly feels like he wants to stay, and he feels like it's an unfinished business. And he wants to get us back challenging at the top where we should be. And I really believe he can do that. I do. I don't believe the narratives from a lot of people that have been saying all season that he's out of his depth. He can't manage at this level. All these different things. I've just never believed that. I really do believe this guy is a very, very good manager. Now, do I believe he's one of the best? Right? Do I believe he's in the top tier? I don't know about that. Probably not. I don't think he's in the top tier of managers in world football. But I think this guy, if he's one of those guys, if he gets you to a final, I think in cup competitions, he can be very, very good for us. This guy, you want him motivating your team ahead of a cup game or a cup final. That's the kind of guy you want on your side.
But also, we don't just want to be a cup team.
No, we want to be performing in the league, but I think we can get a look. Can he win us a league title? I don't know. I don't know who can, but obviously I don't know if he's going to be the guy who can win us a league title. But can he be a manager for right now who can get us back challenging the European spots and get us in doing very well in those cup competitions? I really do believe that. And if is right now, if we were to finish in the next season top 5, win a trophy, that would be unbelievable. That would be, I don't know if you can call it better than this season, but probably obviously you would call it better than this season if we did that. It'd be, I think he's capable of that kind of season, in my opinion. Here's an interesting question though. Given that we have finished 17th this season, right? And obviously we've won that Europa League. Like, how do we judge Ange or even a new manager next season? Because obviously any manager that comes in, or even Ange, are most likely going to finish higher than 17th, right? So but we've won that Europa League. So what do we call progression next season? Do we have to win a trophy next season? For it to be progression?
You can't, you're not going to win a trophy every single year. A trophy would be unbelievable next year, obviously.
So is it now?
But for me, we need to be showing signs of consistency next season.
So you know how we've had these debates, right? Because we've had no trophy for so long. We've had these debates over the years, like, would you rather top 4 on FA Cup, kind of that kind of thing. And a lot of times, like beforehand, when we weren't maybe Champions League regulars, like, okay, Champions League. And then we became a few Champions League regulars. And I was like, okay, I don't care, 5th in an FA Cup, I'll take. It'll be in Europa League, right? But now, is it, because we've got that trophy off our back, is it now, okay, now we've done that, it's now time to be back at the top and being consistent in the top 4 again?
We need to be playing consistent Champions League football, this football club. That's what we need to be doing. I'm looking at top 5 as a minimum next season. It has to be. And
if you assume top 5 is CL.
Yeah, and I think it will be. But I think, like, people can call me deluded and say, look, we finished 17th. How are we going to finish top 5 next season? But I think if we make the right moves in the transfer market, we can put ourselves in a position where that can be a realistic target for next season. So I think top 5 has to be a minimum next season. And then hopefully a nice run in the Champions League and a domestic cup, Carabao or FA Cup. But I think even without a Carabao or FA Cup, to finish in the top 5, I think will be a good season next year.
Right. So you're saying we don't necessarily have to win a trophy to be showing that we get showing progression next season, even though the trophy, like, because if Ange is saying season 3 is better than season 2, would top 5 mean that?
Yes and no. It will mean it's a better season in terms of us showing signs of consistency and us showing signs of going in the right direction. But obviously, it won't be the same ending because we have the glory that we had at the end of this season. However, we need to be going on an upward trajectory, and finishing in the bottom half again next season is not an upward trajectory. We need to be showing signs of consistency next season. We need to be getting back to those heights that we showed under Pochettino and getting back to those levels. And I do think, I know it never really happened under Poch, but I do think if you do show those signs of consistency, then trophies are more likely to come as well.
I agree. But let's say next season he finishes 10th in an FA Cup. Is that progression?
No. It's not progression. It'll give us the great day out again, and it'll be an unbelievable achievement to win the FA Cup, first time since '91. But I'm not sure if that's enough to keep him in a job for the following season.
At that point, you say, look, you've had 2 seasons, you've finished 17th and 10th.
But you've also been the most successful manager in the Premier League history, so you've got to give him a thank you. He doesn't leave with any sort of like malice, or he doesn't leave with any ill feeling. But it just says, look, we need to be consistent in the Premier League. We need to get back to those levels. And clearly, you're not the man to get us there. But thank you very much for bringing the trophies to this football club.
But I think what people are overlooking is how important Champions League, we want to be back in that Champions League, right? And as much as people say they don't care about it, obviously last season we said we'd rather lose that game against City and not be in the Champions League than win it to stop Arsenal win the league. But Champions League football is very, very important. You want to be dining at that top table. And so if Ange would have won the FA Cup on Wednesday rather than the Europa League, I don't think I'd be feeling the same personally than this Europa League, even though he's ended 17 years of hurt, because that Champions League football is very, very important. And that was the goal going into this season, right? Because we finished 5th last season. So to make that next step up from being in Europa League is being in the Champions League. That's how you make that next step up. And he's done that. And obviously winning that Europa League that's how he's done it, by getting to the Champions League. That was the goal. And obviously we want to now be consistent again, being consistently playing in that Champions League. So for me, as much as an FA Cup would be good, that's what your club should be aspiring to do, is being consistently at the top of the table, competing at the best. And because we've just been without that trophy, I think the fans have lost sight of how important that is, and that fans have stopped caring about that just because we've been battered with this no trophy thing. But that's kind of, now we've got that over the line, we need to start trying to aim for that again and being that consistently top of the table. So that's why it's different next season. If we finish 10th in an FA Cup, it's a bit different because you're not getting back in the Champions League.
So you agree with me then? If we finish 10th in FA Cup, he should probably go.
Yeah, he should probably go, because you can't. He would have shown over that period the league form, and he's now not in the Champions League again. We're back in the Europa League. Like, you've done well, but I think we need someone else to maybe take it forward. So I think he needs to be back in that. Maybe if it was top 6 in the FA Cup, that's different. I think. If he gets top 6,
still no Champions League though.
No Champions League, but at least in terms of league form, you're showing you're back close to the European spots. You're in the European spots, and you've got a trophy on top of that.
I guess it depends.
If it's like mid-table.
I guess it depends on like the narrative of the season. If we're like knocking down on the top 4 all season, or if we're like hovering around 10th, 11, and then like make a late surge and just about finish 6th at the end of the season, it's kind of different, isn't it?
I guess, but yeah, I think if he can show consistent league performances and get a trophy, that's different. But obviously 10th. And an FA Cup, it's like you just can't seem to get it right in the league, can you? So we need someone who can start to do that.
Because at the end of the day, the reality is the league should be a real barometer of where you're at as a football club.
I agree.
And that's what it's all about, is your league form. That's what you're going to be mainly judged on. And yeah, look, nowhere near good enough this season. 5th, I think top 5 minimum for me next season. It has to be top 5 minimum.
But you would take 6th in an FA Cup, wouldn't you?
I would take it. I mean, I'd love it. Day out at Wembley, lifting that trophy, another trophy that we've been craving for so long. It's not like I wouldn't be happy at the end of that season, but I just would still feel like, look, it would be progression. It would be progression. So I guess, yeah, I would take it.
I wouldn't take 10th in everything. That 10th in everything is like, that's bit too low. I know saying 10th is too low considering we just finished 17th is a bit
I would
ironic.
Take it. But 6th in FA Cup, I think, would be a good season.
Yeah, then he can. I think he can go again. I think the next season. So I think that's the kind of what we're looking for. But it's either
that's minimum.
Yeah, minimum. Like 6th.
I don't think I would take like
5th.
7th in an FA Cup. 8th in an FA Cup. You know what I mean? We need to be top 6 at the very minimum.
Yeah, we need to be getting, because it's just so embarrassing we're in the league where we've been this season. But I think there are reasons why you can rationalise it, but those excuses are going to run out next season.
It is, but he needs help. Oh look, the club need to make a decision now though. Like, we need to know what is happening next season. The director of football thing is looming over us as well with Paratici. We don't know what's going on with him, and it looks like he's going to be coming back in. We don't know who the manager is going to be next season. Is it going to be Ange? Is it going to be someone else? And we need to start planning ahead. We need to start bringing in players. We need to start sprinkling in some experience to this team.
We need to get our transfer list going. Like, we need to start, as we've said, all the clubs are making moves already, and the longer we're in this limbo, the more we're going to fall further behind in the transfer market. And the reality is, because we're now one of 6 teams in the Champions League, right? We are all shopping in the same market now. We're all in the same pool. Obviously, we're not going to maybe be spending hundreds of millions, maybe like other clubs in terms of on one player, but in terms of, there are certain players who are worth 40 to 50 million, like Cunha, who, what is he, 60 million?
60, yeah.
Right? That kind of thing we're in that kind of market for. But there are now 5 other clubs in the same market, and the longer we wait, the longer we're going to miss out on some of the targets we maybe had, because they're moving quicker, because they know what they're doing next season, and we don't. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to make the decision quickly. Yeah,
exactly. So we are stuck in a bit of a limbo period. Hopefully we do get the answer very, very soon, and we can start making some signings. I mean, there's the Johnny Cardozo thing, where we've got 2 weeks to sign him from now, I believe. So we need to start making decisions. We need to start acting, and we need to start preparing for next season. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be another shit show of a season next year. We can't go in as underprepared as we went in this season, because Next season is going to be a hell of a lot harder than it was this season. We're in the Champions League. We need proper experience to help us maneuver those situations.
But at the moment, given what Ange was saying in the press conference yesterday and a lot of the reports, you know, he doesn't seem very certain he's going to be staying.
No.
He said in the press conference yesterday, after some of the journalists were asking him, first of all, he said he seems weird. I have to talk about our future. And then he said, you know, well, how are you feeling? And he was like, well, you wouldn't be asking me this question if there wasn't some doubt, would you? Like, clearly there is some doubt, and you're asking the wrong person. I'm not the one making a decision. I haven't heard anything. Obviously, given that there's been radio silence from the board, doesn't really bode well for him, I would say, right now, looking at it.
I mean, he has made some comments like the Brighton game, post the Brighton game. I think maybe even after the cup win as well, about his future, and it just doesn't seem. He doesn't seem like adamant that he's going to be here next season, which is a bit of a disappointment after what he's given us. We're just kind of going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see. Like,
it's just weird.
I think he thinks he's gone. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, the fact that he hasn't gotten a firm answer must be really disappointing, considering how the last few days have gone.
Yeah.
Like, they should have been aware. They should have known how what would happen if we would have won the Europa League. And so if they were before that Europa League, they were saying he's gone regardless, then he should be gone. But if they were thinking differently, then they should have planned for that. I mean, it seems as though they were maybe thinking he was going to go regardless. And now he's won. It's like, oh, maybe we should just keep him. And now I'm not sure. But it's like, if that was the feeling before, then just sack him and move on very quickly and plan for it. But it seems as though they're just in limbo now. Like, they should. If they were thinking if he wins it, let's keep him, then bloody just say it now.
I just don't understand, right, how we can live through that night in Bilbao, how we can live through the parade and his speech in the parade and season 3 better than season 2 and all that, and then sack him a few days later. I just don't understand how that's a situation.
After that big cheer he got in the parade when he said that, and the envisaging he's not going to be able to see out that season 3 is gutting to think about.
When the camera panned to Levy yesterday, right, the only boo of the day came for him. And Ange's name was being sung all afternoon long in the concourses and in the stadiums. When he came up to the fans with the trophy, it was, you know, quite a magical moment. Like, I'm sitting there, it's like Levy really looking at that and thinking like, I'm going to sack him, like, especially after the boos came for his face yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is a part of me that thinks with the way Ange is speaking, I feel like Levy's going to sack him. But then when you're looking at all the love that's coming from the fans towards Ange, how can he sack him?
Yeah. Because maybe the clamour before the final was just so big, he just, you know, he felt that he feels like they had to make, maybe they had to feel like they had to make that decision before, like, oh, okay, we're just going to sack him before, and then maybe they feel like they got to stick to that because that's like logical in their mind that we should be firing a manager who's finished 17th in the league regardless of what any cup competition.
Or they were thinking like, for sure Ange is going at the end of the season, and now they've seen all this positivity come towards him. We've won the cup and all the feelings that come with that. Maybe the feeling is more to keeping him now.
Well, I think it should be. I think we should keep him, and I think we've got an opportunity here to actually build something that like long term. Like, it's not many times in football these days you get the opportunity to actually have something that lasts with a manager more than like 2 years, right? That's like the average length of a tenure these days for a manager. But you look at all the top ones. You know, at the moment in the Premier League, Arteta and Guardiola and blah blah, and those kind of managers, Eddie Howe, these are the guys that they have there for a long time, right? And they build something, they build a togetherness with the fan base, and also just a consistency on the football pitch, and that really helps. And we've got an opportunity to do that, and it'll be just a shame just to throw away because of how this league season's gone, and we're that disappointed when something positive has come from it. We've got something unbelievably positive, and I think we should try and build on that and focus on that rather than just saying, well, this league form has been so disastrously bad, whatever happens, like, we can't overlook that. I think when there's a chance to actually build on something and chance to actually harness that positive energy that we have and that momentum, which is so important, and that winning feeling that we have, I think we should try our best to focus on that and build upon that for next season, and try and help that and nurture that, rather than focus on all the negativity that's been so prominent this season, and then might even return, and you're risking it returning when you're sacking the manager and bringing someone new for next season. Because with this team and this club, if you bring a new manager, it's going to take time for them. They're not going to hit the ground running. It's not going to be instant success. They're going to have to build their own thing with the team, with the players, with the fans. It's going to take time. It's not going to be just plug and play, right? They're going to have to do everything's going to start from scratch in a way. Not to say they can't be a success, whoever they bring in. It's just going to take time. Whereas you've got a manager now who knows what the ins and outs of this club, and he's got success, and he's the only manager who's found success within the chaos. We know how chaotic this club is as a fan, right? Within the chaos, he's managed to find success there, and I think it's just worth staying with. It's worth staying with right now, and that's how I feel.
That's our opinion, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. However, what decision do you think the club is going to make? Because it's going to have to be made surely by the end of this week.
I hope so, but you say that, you look at how I guess it's different different team, but I'm pretty sure like United didn't they make the decision on Ten Hag like midway through the summer? Like they were shopping for Tuchel, they were shopping for other managers. I think Ten Hag heard while he was on holiday that he was staying, didn't he? He got a call on holiday that he's going to be the manager. So
I hope we don't. Now.
I hope we don't. Obviously, we're going to have to do that if he's on holiday already. But I hope we don't wait that long, and I hope we're not hearing rumours of this manager and that manager, and then we stay with Ange. I think if we're going to do it, just do it now. Don't shop around.
What is the decision the club going to come to?
I don't know.
What's your gut telling you?
I think my gut's telling me that he's going to stay, actually. Even though the reports right now are he's going to leave, my gut's telling me he's going to stay. The reason being is I do feel like if they were really going to sack him right now, they would have already had someone lined up, and it doesn't seem like they do have someone lined up. And I think we would have heard serious links to someone. We've heard very vague links to like people on a list, but we haven't heard about anything definitive about anyone, really, have we, in terms of managers? And I feel like if they were actually going to sack him and bring in someone new, we would have heard a definitive name right now about someone who's really seriously close to coming. And that doesn't seem to be the case. So I've got a feeling that he is actually going to stay. But right now, it seems as though they're undecided and they're in limbo. But I kind of feel like they will land on keeping him. But I could be wrong, obviously. I hope I'm not, but yeah, that's kind of my gut feeling.
Yeah, I also I'm split with it because of the way Ange is speaking. It feels like he's a bit of a dead man walking, but I just feel like in the weeks leading up to the final and the whole run, I thought, Levy had his mind set on probably getting rid of him at the end of the season. But now it's all said and done. What's happened's happened. The feelings have come, Levy's first major trophy of his, tenure at Tottenham. I feel like he's going to end up landing on keeping him. I think he has to. I just can't see him. Like, surely he's not going to sack him after everything that we've been through in the last week. I just can't see it.
Do you think there was a sort of The Athletic? They said it could potentially be a more unpopular sacking than Pochettino. Do you agree with that? Would it be more unpopular than Pochettino? In a weird way, it might be just because when Poch got sacked, obviously we loved him, but it's not like we were singing his name at that point. You know what I mean? We were doing so bad in the league, and we hadn't won away from home in a year, and obviously and there was
Ange's only returned to being flavour of month a few days ago.
I know it's true, but it's still right now. Like everyone is not everyone, but clearly I'm looking at the poll. It's still fairly split. So I guess it's still not. I guess it's still.
I think it will be fairly similar, to be honest, because I think a lot of people at the time thought sacking Pochettino was, going to be a massive mistake of the club, and I think smaller amount of people probably think that about Ange.
What is more of a risk, keeping him or sacking him?
Well, sacking him is going into the complete unknown. We don't know what comes after that. We don't know who's going to come in. So until we know who's going to come in, we can't really answer that question.
Yeah. God, a big few days ahead of us, I think. Well, let's hope it doesn't last any longer than that. But This a big
Only
decision.
Tottenham can have the most significant moment in their recent history since 1984 and then be going into these like massive debates about keeping the manager and finishing 17th. It's just madness. It just blows my mind, this football club, every single time. And like I said before, like these fans that are so like intent of getting Ange out of this club, and I was one of them, don't get me wrong, and you're people going to call me a flip-flop, call me this lot and that lot, whatever. I don't really care at this moment in time. But the kind of wars that people are having right now of Ange in, Ange out, like, just enjoy the Europa League success, man. Just sit down, have a pint, have a smile on your face, and think, fuck yeah, I'm a European champion.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what we got. That's what we got to be thinking. That's got to be at the forefront of our minds. So, but it's hard not to obviously talk about, isn't it? When we don't know, so much uncertainty. You're obviously going to talk about it, aren't we? Because that's just the like. Look, it's all great. We won the trophy, and obviously we're not even a week out yet. But obviously, at some point, we do have to start looking towards next season and what's going to happen. And
we should keep him. And we should keep him. And you know what? You can call me a flip-flop all you like, but you know what else I am? You know what else I am? I'm a European champion, baby. That's what I am.
Come on.
So, look, it is what it is. We'll see what happens with Ange over the. I do think we'll have a decision by the end of the week. I just have to believe that because I can't be stuck in this limbo for any longer than that.
Limbo's not nice. It's not nice.